we are talking about crushes. And right now, I'd like you all to help me welcome Davy Jones from the Monkees and his beautiful daughter, Sarah. Davy, for one moment, we'll make believe, Sarah, that you are not here, because it's difficult for me as a mother to ask him some questions that I have to ask with you sitting here. So make believe for a split second. Davy, how did it feel when all of these hundreds and thousands of women and girls were absolutely crazy about you? How did that make you feel?
Terrible. I just couldn't sleep at night.
You went to bed and you said, oh my gosh, I can't have sex and I can't sleep because all of these women are thinking of me?
Can I choose one of the above?
Davy, seriously, what does it do to a big star like you? What does it make you feel? Does it make you feel proud to some extent?
Oh, yes. It all depends where you're coming from.
Yes.
Or where you've been, which is most important. And sort of same as most people, going into school and high school, there were certain things I wanted. I wanted people to look at me. I was always wanting to be the captain of the football team or the cricket team, or I always ran faster than most people.
That's because you are short.
Yes,
I
really.
understand that part.
It is. When you are shorter than most, you do tend to want to push your way forward there.
Yeah.
So I was always sort of showing off a little bit or wanting to be out there in the forefront. So when this came to me, with the Monkees especially, I'd worked before that, prior to that, in theatre and other things. When the Monkees came and the TV and the crushes, as we're talking about, came to me, it was a bit confusing at first because I was 20 years old and most of the girls that had crushes at the time, and there were guys too, I might add, in the nicest possible way, that were fans of the Monkees, all right? So when it came to me, I was 20 years old, and there were 14-year-old girls, and that's not allowed, you see. So there was an immediate problem there.
Right.
There was a problem.
So you only could use it in your imagination exactly like they could use the crush.
It worked the same way for me as it did for them at the time. However, there were crushes I had. I had crushes on other people. There were 4 people in particular that I was sort of had crushes on at the time when I was 20 years old. It was, I think, Ursula Andress and Jackie Kennedy, Anne Bancroft, you know, people like that. So the difference in age was...
So you could know how that feeling is of having a crush and being that object of the crushes. Sarah, how does it feel to have a father? Now that you are an actress, how does it feel to have a father who you know a lot of people really adore? How does it feel?
I love it. I do. I love it. I mean...
When you were younger, were you a little bit jealous?
No, never. No. There's never any jealousy.
What did you feel about those people who really admired this father? What did you feel, Sarah?
How did I feel towards the people?
Yes.
Oh, well, I thought, I mean, I've always grown up with him being in the limelight, so I've never known any different, you know. So whenever anyone is after him, it's just...
She stands aside and lets him get me.
Yeah, I do, because it's what he does.
Do you sometimes feel like you really would like to protect him?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm his bodyguard. Seriously, he takes me along sometimes to, you know, get away
It's good.
from
Sometimes you've got to find these sort of diversions and sort of like you keep in company and you go places. Obviously, it's not all sort of star time and people trying to tear my clothes off and saying, I love you, I want to take you home. It's a lot of normal stuff. You know, I read something the other day, and I see the little things at the beginning of your breaks where you say certain things, certain quotes. And I read something the other day, and it was that at the end of the game, the king and the pawn goes back in the same box. So there is a Davy Jones that's nothing to do with show business and crushes and...
It has to be something with being a father and being...
You've got to find a happy balance, you know.
Who here has a question? Yes, please.
Have you ever had a fan overdo it? Like with the I love yous and I want to take you home and actually try to take you home?
It's happened a couple of times, yeah. But then again, you
But
see,
not
there's
the
more...
14-year-old.
Of course not.
But he was sweet.
Why, me? The thing is, you
Yes.
see, the crushes, love, and all that kind of affection is something that a lot of people don't get. So when you get it and you're willing to accept it, then it's a wonderful feeling. You know, love is not necessarily between two people. It could be between four people. No, love is not necessarily between two people. It doesn't mean love means affection to one person. It can spill over into that crush idea. There are guys that have got pictures of Clint Eastwood on the wall, you know, Dirty Harry or whatever it might be. It doesn't mean they fancy the guy or they want to go around shooting people, and they've got pictures of bikers, and it means that they think, well, this guy's cool. You know, there's some guys like Tom Cruise, I'm sure, you know, not necessarily want to be like him, but think he's cool because of what he's doing with the way he carries himself.
I've got Marilyn all over my wall, Marilyn Monroe all over my wall, just because, you know, I think she's great. Not because I have a crush on her.
How do you feel when a guy has a crush on you, Sarah?
Well, I've never really
Okay, I guess we won't be going back to Miami tonight, darling. Okay, I'll make that one ticket.
I've never been aware of a guy having a crush on me, to tell you truthfully.
But she's never been to New York before, you see.
Yes?
No, really.
You just need to show that he has a crush. Yes, over there.
Do you ever get sick of fans falling all over you and stuff like that?
It's not always like that. I don't really get sick of it. Being in showbiz, you've got to really, when you're out there in the public, then you've got to really accommodate whatever the feeling is that's coming towards you. Whether it's a baggage man at the airport, they shouted, "Hey, Davy, good to see us," you know? I said, "Hey," and said, "Hey, we're the monkeys." I thought, I'm not going any farther with this. We'll be doing the monkey walk down the airport next.
That's a very interesting question, because Sarah, when there's somebody, you told one of the producers, there was a guy by the name, it started with a J, I won't say his name, who had a crush on you, and when you became
who had a
aware
crush on me? Oh, okay. Yeah. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah. Well, I just graduated from high school, and this guy came up to me and said, said to me, he's all, "I just want to tell you before I go into the big bad world that I've had a crush on you since 7th grade." And I was like, whoa, really? You know, it made me feel good about myself.
But did you feel an obligation to become friends with? No.
No.
It just made you feel good that there's somebody. Yes?
Were you ever interested in, Davy, were you ever interested in someone younger than you when you were a star? Like when they were 14 and you were 20?
No, only now that I'm 43, I'm becoming...
That's an honest, yes?
Why weren't you interested?
Yeah.
Why? Well, because of the reason I said before. It was pretty taboo. It was sort of like when Marlon Brando was working for the studio. He wasn't allowed to ride a motorbike, you know. It was in his contract. And it's sort of like an unwritten rule, you know. And when you're 18, when you're 19, 20, you don't hang around with 13-year-old girls. So you can look, but you can't touch.
Because you really could take advantage of a situation which you, as a star, do not want to do.
Well, I didn't then, of course, but...
Yes?
Sarah, did you ever have a crush on a guy before?
Yeah. I've had many crushes on guys.
I must say, I went to Sarah's graduation, and at Santa Barbara High, and I was quite amazed by the amount of affection that the kids were giving each other. People don't know about this in schools. They only hear about teachers having problems and students not showing up on time and stuff like that. But there is an awful lot of love going on in schools and colleges and places. I don't mean sex, I mean love, affection, true caring. There are girls that share thoughts and guys that talk about things, and people don't get this on the news, you see.
Dave and Sarah, we have to take a break, and we will be right back. With heartthrob Davy Jones of the Monkees and his daughter Sarah. Sarah, let me ask you a question. when somebody does have a crush, can that person take advantage?
Completely.
Okay, what do you-
Completely, because if that person knows that you have a crush on them, they've got you wrapped around their finger. And they can do anything with you, which has happened to me quite a few times. They toy with my mind, you know, and it hurts. That's why they're called crushes, because you get hurt in the end.
Because you get hurt, because it's not a real serious way of relating that starts a relationship. Yeah.
Are you married?
Am I married? Yes.
Okay.
I have.
How does your wife feel about the crushes then?
She feels all right. It doesn't really. It's not into our lives all the time. We tour and I go out and I do things, and there are people that show their affection to me. So it's not an everyday thing, you know. I work mostly sort of on my farm, and I work with horses. So I'm sort of like a different person. So when I get out there in the real world, then my wife, she understands. She's sometimes sort of like put out a bit if somebody goes a bit too far and maybe
Tries to
calls
write
her.
you letters or things
No,
like
letters.
that.
We get lots of letters. It's just sometimes it goes a bit fanatical,
Yes.
you know.
Over there?
Sarah, did you ever feel that, like, if a girl has a crush on your father, she tries to use you to get through to him?
Oh, all the time. It's hard because,
That's a very good question.
yeah, it is.
Somebody using you to get to your father.
Yeah, I find that a lot. I mean, I get fan mail because of my father. And that's kind of obvious the reason why I get fan mail, you
Yeah,
know.
but now you know who your true friends are, like, you
Oh,
know.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I've
there?
got
Over
really good friends.
Did you ever date an older fan?
An older fan? Probably, yeah. Somewhere along the line, I have, yeah.
Over there, the girl in the pink sweater.
Did you ever answer to any fans, like people that wrote you letters and, like, made a request to, like, meet you?
I had a funny experience. When I first met my wife, she wrote me a fan letter saying that she was... Actually, she called me on the phone. She says, hello, I'm fat and I'm ugly and you wouldn't like to go out with me, she says. And I arranged to meet her. So when we met, I'd met her before, but she was just pulling my leg, you know, and I showed up. She said, I can't believe you showed up. I said, listen, you know, fat, ugly people with spots want affection too, you know. So I actually did.
Okay.
This gentleman.
Sarah, I just want to know, like, back in high school, you had a crush on a boy. And one of your friends would know about this, and he would tell the boy, would you deny it?
Yeah. I had a crush on this guy for years, and it was, I mean, he totally knew it, and it was terrible because everyone would talk about it, and it would be like going around junior high, and it was just terrible because I felt like everyone was just around me, just going, oh, you like this guy.
Would you
I won't say
say
his
that
name.
sometimes a crush should be kept secretly? Should be kept like a secret and not to share except maybe with one trusted friend?
Well, to me, a crush is basically fantasy. Because none of my crushes that, you know, if I've had a crush on a guy, it's never turned into a relationship. And so to me, a crush is basically fantasy.
Never turn into a relationship? I mean, on the lines of all that you're talking about now, next time I have a crush, I'm just going to go well over the top. You know, I mean, I'm just going to...
Now, you are married, so you're not supposed to have
That's why I can go well over the top.
Yeah, over
Nothing's
there.
going to happen.
Monkeys actually have any musical talent, or it was just like TV?
Oh, my God.
I think that everybody has a certain talent, you know, and you can't always do everything that you can do, you know, in this particular engagement. I mean, the Monkees sold 100 million records. We didn't play on all the music, of course we didn't, and neither did the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, the Beach Boys, the Who, Mott the Hoople, whoever you want to name.
The monkeys were loved by
At an early age, did you ever have a crush on one of the people in the audience that were too young for you and you said it wasn't right at that time?
When we were doing the Monkees back in 1966 and we toured, there was a lot of young girls around, and we were well protected with police and all kinds of other security, and it was not allowed to have girls in the hotel. There were groups with groupies and people like that, but not the Monkees, I'm afraid to say. The idea was 20 years later, we came out in '86 and traveled on the road, and there's a lot of women around now because they got 20 years older, and some young kids with their, you know, with their mums, you know, so it's a very, very difficult thing.
The mothers who had that crush on you so many years earlier.
You've got to be very discreet when you're in the public eye, okay? And you've got to be very careful who you are seen with and how long you're seen with them, and whether you're seen with them again and again and again, because people start to talk, you know? I mean, if my wife reads out that I've been out in Hollywood having a good time with Sally Field or somebody, she can say, wait a minute, why wasn't I there? So you've got to be very careful.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever have like a band following your footsteps? Like,
Excuse me?
do you think you'll ever have like a band or a singer follow in your footsteps?
Well, a lot of musicians have come to me and said that if it wasn't for the Monkees, I wouldn't be in music. You know, I wouldn't have picked up the guitar and done the 3 chords of I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, you know, or I'm a Believer, whatever. It wasn't brain surgery what the Monkees did. What it was entertainment. And this is all we've tried to do.
Over there, in the last row there.
You obligated to anyone, Sarah, at this song? Got crushes?
Yes, over there.
Davey, how did you keep from getting a big head with all those crushes?
That's a super question.
Well, you don't really, because you've always got a bit of an attitude, you know, and there's always somebody around that thinks you've got a bit of a big head. I try to conduct myself in a very positive and normal, balanced way, but it's not always possible. You might say, hey, you know, I enjoyed that little guy who was on the TV today, but he was really a little shit, you know
All
what
of
I'm
you,
saying?
we are out of time and